are these people?
So push Biden left, is what I titled this. I saw over the weekend that, Biden approved, a, what do they call it? The oil project in Alaska, right? Here's the meme in case people didn't know. We should take Bikini Bottom and push it somewhere else. So case study put together this little video, from the CNN, about it, that this was taken before he approved it, right? So we'll get into that a bit. You might have seen this if you watched the lovely Sabrina Salvati, which we'll get to in a second.
In our Earth Matters series, the Biden administration is expected to make a decision soon on whether to approve a controversial oil drilling project in Alaska. And while there has been bipartisan support from the state's lawmakers and some native groups for the Willow Project, there is also a tremendous amount of pushback from climate activists in Alaska and beyond. Here's CNN's Renee Marsh.
At this point, the only way that this project can be stopped is if...
On TikTok and Instagram, calls for President Biden to stop Willow Project, an urgent call that's gone viral to block a controversial Alaska oil drilling project.
Please help stop Willow.
The videos racking up tens of millions of views, spurring more than 1 million letters to the White House and more than 3 million signatures to a Change.org petition.
In order to stop Willow, people need to know about Willow.
20-year-old Elise Joshi, a senior at the University of California, Berkeley, is one of the social media activists.
Will not just impact Alaska, it will not just impact this country, it'll impact the world. With the amount of carbon emissions that it will emit, we will see an increase in frequency and intensity of natural disasters.
ConocoPhillips' Willow Project would be located in northwest Alaska on the National Petroleum Reserve, federal land.
So what do you see there, Care Bear? Just on this map alone here, right? So this is where they want to drill,
right?
Okay? What do you see near it?
A river.
And a lake here, and this whole watershed, up here. So, like, that ecosystem, which I'm betting is pretty important, is going to be massively affected.
Right. And roughly the size of Indiana. The project...
The size of Indiana. Okay?
Would tap as much as 600 million barrels of oil, but it would take years for it to make it to market.
There it is right there.
It's messy politics for President Biden, pitting his climate promises against the desire to produce energy at home and lower gas prices. The project would release as much planet-warming carbon emissions per year as adding 2 million gas-powered cars to the road annually. That's according to a government estimate.
Loss of taste and smell, dizziness.
Sikanik Maupin's family lives near the proposed site, and she recently traveled to Washington to protest outside the White House against the Willow Project, despite its economic benefits.
We've been held in an economic hostage situation. We either choose our health, our children's health, our ways of life, or being able to have plumbing and infrastructure and running water.
Nagruk Hasharik's family has also lived in the region for generations. He supports the project. His nonprofit represents 24 native communities, corporations, and local governments who say the project would be an economic boon and help the U.S. wean off of foreign oil.
The economics that a project like this would...
What do they call that?
I'm confused. Like, why would you support it?
Well, yes, but I want you to listen to what they called the people who supported it, right?
Infrastructure and running water.
Nagruk Hasharik's family has also lived in the region for generations. He supports the project. His nonprofit represents 24 native communities, corporations, and local governments.
Represents how many corporations she just said.
Right. No, they're not nonprofit then.
Right. They're nonprofit in name only.
The project would be an economic boon and help the U.S. wean off of foreign oil.
The economics that a project like this would bring into the region, mainly to the North Slope borough in the form of taxes, to help provide and maintain first world conditions.
Meantime, the Arctic is warming 4 times faster than anywhere else on the planet due to climate change.
We cannot keep drilling for new fossil fuels if we want to address climate change.
Well, ConocoPhillips tells CNN in a statement that this project will create, quote, good union jobs in the.
I love how now it's like, oh, you care about unions, but when it came to railroad workers, you didn't give a damn.
Yep, and will lessen reliance on foreign oil, which of course they're wanting to do, right? So,
The project has undergone a comprehensive regulatory process for nearly 5 years with extensive public input. And Erica, we could see that decision come from the Biden administration as soon as next week.
All right, we'll be watching for it, Renee. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So that was week before, right?
Right.
We'll get into some other stuff with this, but thoughts so far? Anything
besides the bullshit?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's bullshit.
This is what people voted for, folks.
Yep. So,
you know, like I believe I saw a tweet from who is it, Emma Figland, who was like, I think this was back in 2020 when she was like, yeah, like there's many things that you shouldn't like Biden for, but climate change should be one of them, or something toward those lines. So basically, she was making the case to vote for Biden because he would be pro climate change. And fast forward to 2.5 years later.
Oh, we'll get there. So here's the lovely Sabrina Salvati. She just watched the same video we did, and she has some words to say.
Oh, good union jobs.
I'm all for union jobs. I'm all for that. But there are other ways that you can create those jobs without destroying the environment, without destroying people's communities. Are these the jobs that Joe Biden's been talking about? We created all these jobs. These the jobs? What good are those jobs if you're going to be underwater? This is just all about short-term profits. It's all about greed, corporate greed. They are willing to throw our future away so that they can make a short buck. How many times are they going to continue to screw younger people over? This is our future. First, it was the student loan debt. He messed that up. Then it was, we're going to codify Roe v. Wade. Not happening. Then it was, I passed climate legislation and he's doing this behind your back. How many times are we going to let them just sit here and destroy our future? How many times is our government going to allow for indigenous land to be corrupted, to be destroyed? How many pipelines they're going to put through? There was this whole push to stop Line 3. Remember this? So you have the indigenous communities that have constantly been affected. Let's go back to Standing Rock. Let's remember that as well. And you have Black communities that are constantly affected. They don't care because they see these groups as disposable. And that's what this really comes down to, guys. You would never see them try to do this in Beverly Hills. You don't see them trying to put pipelines through wealthy white neighborhoods. It does not happen. They attack the poor, they attack those that are vulnerable, and they attack the working class. And those are usually communities of color. And this is how you end up with environmental pollution in those areas. If you leave the South End and you walk across the street to Roxbury, your life expectancy drops by 30 years for the people who live on that side.
So just to give some context, because she's talking about Boston, I used to live in Boston.
That's that island, right? They that's that island they like rebuilt over a landfill, right?
Is it,
what's that Boston Island out there? Rebuilt?
It's not an island, but parts of Boston is landfill, yes.
Yeah.
That's called Back Bay.
That's what it is.
Yeah, so
my Fallout knowledge, man. It's video game knowledge of Boston. That's you know what I mean?
But Roxbury, at least when I lived there, was more like lower income, but when I was leaving 2017, it was in the process of being gentrified. The South End is gentrified, and that's more known now as the LGBTQ community. So,
Gotcha.
yeah. So just to kind of give context there. So Roxbury is more of the lower income, part of the lower income community in Boston, but so that's what Savvy is saying. Once you cross into Roxbury.
When was Standing Rock? Was that Biden or was that
Obama?
No, I mean Obama? That was Obama, right?
Mhm.
Not even Trump. Trump wasn't even in office yet, right?
Right.
Okay. Just making sure.
I believe so. Check in the chat if I'm correct or if I'm wrong.
It's
So,
close, right? It's like during that,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But
So
anyway.
And part of that has to do with the environmental pollution.
So Savvy, they're killing it.
Project will create, quote, good union jobs.
I'm trying to hit the full screen on the video here. You know, excuse me. So, I hope people don't know this guy. But this is the best Frank, who's a terrible person on Twitter. But this is why we need to get money out of politics. Every Republican and most Dems receive significant money from the fossil fuel industry. And your Sunrise Movement, with President Biden officially approved the Willow Project, instead of sticking to his own climate goals and listening to the millions of young people who carried the party for the last 3 election cycles, POTUS is leading the fossil fuel industry have their way, is letting the fossil fuel industry have their way. But this guy definitely pushed for him. I guarantee you. This is one of those G-Hive, you know, stuff. So, I just put up a tweet myself that said, push them left, they said. Push them left. So, and just in case people forgot about Sunrise Movement, people need to go look up a Substack from Robbie Yeager about their billionaire funding. But it just essentially states that the environment-focused dark money group has steadily built themselves as a youth-led grassroots organization. The problem is they're receiving a ton of billionaire funding, right? And Yeager lays that all out in depth, but I just want people to realize that, you know, Sunrise Movement also compromised. So, but they did talk about people on Twitter, right, and TikTok, right? Let's see if I can.
Right.
I'll just unfull screen and do this. Like this individual, and they got pretty upset, and I can't blame them.
Hey Biden, remember when you promised to be a climate leader? Hey Biden, remember when you promised to be a climate leader? So then why did you just approve the Willow Project? You just effectively lied and slapped the faces of millions of young people who voted for you, who put you in office. Good luck gaining our trust back after you just approved the biggest oil project on federal land in history. There are consequences when you underestimate young people. The Republicans found that out in the midterms last year, and now the DNC and the Biden administration is going to find out what happens when you fuck around with my generation.
I'm not so sure about that though. Because God forbid that we have Trump or DeSantis.
Right.
And then they're going to be like, but we have to vote for Biden or whoever it is because they're just so much worse. So we'll see how far that is.
But if we vote him in, we can push him left afterwards. Oh, you know, it's almost like withholding your vote might be useful. Speaking of doing that, and member Joe says, I'm totally with this kid. Ukraine flag, Ukraine flag, Ukraine flag, needle, 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 needle.
So folks, on the Willow Project, I know a lot of people are upset about it, me being one of them, but what I have not liked seeing is people saying that they're never going to support Joe Biden ever again, and that they never support the Democrats because of this. And I don't think that's the right mindset, because President Biden has been the best president in American history on climate. He has signed countless bills and executive orders aimed at protecting our environment. He's protected communities from extreme heat and dangerous climate impacts, lowering cooling costs for communities, expanding offshore wind opportunities and jobs. He also passed the most significant and largest climate investment in U.S. history. So in my view, this one setback doesn't erase all of the progress. And if we don't support the Democrats who are pro-climate, what's the alternative? The Republicans and Donald Trump who have destroyed our environment?
I'm Michael Jordan. Stop it. Get some help.
He probably doesn't have student loans.
No, or anything else, or still believing.
Mommy and Daddy are paying for him.
still believing like.
But you know what though? But we make fun, but I feel like watch next year, watch in the summer fall. Like this will be the attitude of many people.
Yep.
You know, make fun of him now, and we know he wrong. But like, people are mad now. But like, depending who the Republican candidate's going to be, more people are going to start talking like this.
There's a lot of time between here and election time. I'm just saying.
Right.
I am just saying. So what?
So folks, on
no. So this was on March 11th, right? Here's one of our favorites over at Common Dreams, Brett Wilkins, right? And he was talking about the Friday before March 11th, which was when? March 11th, the 10th.
March 11th,
the day before
was Saturday.
Yeah. So the 10th, right? And this was about when people were starting to get upset about this approval going through, right? And that the decision's already been made to approve it. Okay. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre on Friday denied reports that U.S. President Joe Biden would imminently approve the Willow Project, saying no final decisions have been made on the highly controversial $8 billion ConocoPhillips oil drilling endeavor in North Alaska, slammed by critics as a climate catastrophe. Anyone who says that there has been a final decision is wrong, Jean-Pierre told reporters Friday evening after outlets including Bloomberg, CNN, and the New York Times reported that the Biden administration would greenlight what would be the single largest oil operation in the United States. So 1 week later.
One eternity later.
Right? Biden denounced for appalling approval of Willow Oil Project. That was a week later. This is March 13th. So that was on that Friday, the 10th.
Right.
Okay. On the 13th.
So after the weekend.
The next weekend, this has been approved. Monday. This has been approved. Shout out for Indy Left for cluing me in on that little nugget on this story. He was like, here, you're going to need this, and hands me an article. And I was like, okay, great. Great. So Kenny Stansel, another guy at Common Dreams, there is simply no justification for President Biden's decision to approve a massive new oil drilling scheme that will lead to decades of air and climate pollution, said one critic. So, Joseph Biden on Monday greenlighted a massive oil drilling project on federal land in Alaska, eliciting outrage from climate activists who say the administration's accompanying restrictions on oil and gas leasing in the region cannot make up for the destruction set to be unleashed by the approved Willow Project. Progressives sought for months to dissuade Biden from approving ConocoPhillips' $8 billion Willow Project, noting that it can enable the production of more than 600 million barrels of crude oil over 30 years. In all of that, oil is burned, roughly 280 million metric tons of heat-trapping carbon dioxide, Emissions will be spewed into the atmosphere at a time when United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres warns that the planet is reaching a point of no return. Well, like, bro, it's been past that almost. I've heard climate scientists saying that for a minute. So, there's a simple no justification for President Biden's decision to approve a massive. Did I just read that? No.
No.
I think I did. That was at the alt text. Executive Director Winona Hodder said in a statement, right? This decision is part of a disturbing and disappointing trend with this White House, Hunter continued. President Biden refuses to take the necessary actions to rein in climate catastrophe while issuing rhetoric that professes concern for the existential threat that we all face. He cannot have it both ways. Promoting clean energy development is meaningless if we continue to allow corporations to plunder and pollute as they wish. President Biden refuses to take the necessary actions to rein in climate catastrophe while issuing rhetoric that professes concern for the existential threat that we all face, which I just read, in what the New York Times described as a bid to temper criticism over the Willow decision and, as one administration official put it, to form a firewall to limit future fossil fuel development in the region, which is what? So that's one of their excuses, Collin. Is that we're also trying to stop it everywhere else here. Like that's gonna matter. Anyway, Biden announced restrictions on offshore oil lease sales in the Arctic Ocean and across Alaska's North Slope. Well, the U.S. Department of the Interior, can you look up who the head of that is, please? Said it would issue new rules. Do what? Interior.
What do you say?
Who's head of Interior? Department of Interior. If chat can look that up, or you, or Biden announced restrictions on offshore oil lease. Said it would issue new rules to block oil and gas leasing in more than 13 million of the 23 million acres that form the National Petroleum Reserve, Alaska, where the Willow Project is located. But given the
Interior Secretary Deb Haaland.
Okay, and I'm betting she's been connected to, I'm sure, a load of environmentally friendly oil refining companies. From New Mexico. Deb Haaland.
She's Native American. Oh, she's a Native American at that too.
Okay.
So,
like Elizabeth Warren Native American, or like actual
no,
Native
I think
American?
she's more legit than Elizabeth Warren is.
Okay.
I have to look up more into her, but
cool. So warnings from even the relatively conservative International Energy Agency that new fossil fuels projects are incompatible with averting the worst consequences of the planetary emergency. Climate justice campaigners rejected the president's attempts to soften the blow of his Willow approval by announcing new protections for areas surrounding the extraction site. It's insulting that Biden thinks this will change our minds about the Willow Project. Kristen Monsell, a senior attorney at the Center for Biological Diversity, said in a statement, protecting one area of the Arctic so you can destroy another doesn't make sense, and it won't help the people and wildlife who will be upended by the Willow Project. We need to protect the entire Arctic and stop building massive oil and gas developments that will continue to greenhouse gas emissions for years to come. Will contribute to, Biden approved Willow knowing full well that it'll cause massive and irreversible destruction, which is appalling, said Monsell. People and wildlife will suffer, and extracting and burning more fossil fuels will warm the climate even faster. Biden has no excuse for letting this project go forward in any form. New Arctic drilling makes no sense and will fight hard to keep ConocoPhillips from breaking ground. No, you won't. No, you won't. You're not fighting hard now. Anyway, well, I mean, you are. I thought that was administration saying that. As the Times reported, the Biden's administration said it would approve permits for 3 drilling sites and deny 2 others, including one that would have been closest to a coastal wetland known as Teshpuk Lake. The administration also said it would deny permissions to build a road that would have led to the 4th drilling site. So, look who it is, Care Bear. You know
My
that
arch
guy.
nemesis.
Yeah.
My arch nemesis.
He says, I'm very disappointed in the president for approving the Willow Project. Youth voter turnout was at its highest in 2020, and young folks supported him because of commitments such as no more drilling on federal land. That commitment has been broken. We deserve a livable future. What are you going to do about it? Tell us what you're going to do about it.
Right.
Like this guy is asking. Friend of the show and RBN member, Jay Buffont. So what are you going to do about it? How will you hold Biden accountable? He took billionaire money and was pro-fracking. I'm your constituent in District 10, so I want to know how you are going to defend Gen Z and younger generations from this charlatan. No strongly worded letters.
Do you want some information about Holland?
Yeah, that would be nice. She's head of the interior.
Native American.
Okay.
She is Native American, enrolled in the Laguna Pueblo tribe.
Gotcha.
Given her name, her father is Norwegian, of Norwegian descent.
Okay.
Hold on, let me pull this up real fast. So she made a statement actually last week concerning the president's fiscal year budget, 2024 budget. So the budget details, so I'm reading this from the U.S. Department of the Interior press release. The budget details a blueprint to grow the economy from the bottom up and middle out, lower costs for families, protect and strengthen Medicare and Social Security, and reduce the deficit by ensuring the wealthy and big corporations pay their fair share, all while ensuring no one makes less than $400,000 per year pays more in taxes. President Biden's proposed budget builds on the historical investments from the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act to boost our nation's economy, generating jobs and supporting local and tribal communities, building resilience to our changing climate, and managing important resources, she says. At the department, we will continue to implement our mission through a process that values close collaboration between federal, state, tribal, and local partners with an eye towards historically marginalized and underrepresented communities that must never again feel left behind. So I want to take a stab at this since just with the very little research that I did on her, but I think it's very safe to say I can make a couple of guesses. Native American using identity politics in the guise of, oh, we're providing jobs.
Right. To my people.
For my people in particular.
While murdering the land.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
That's basically what this is. So, so just very quick, she was the state vote director for Native Americans in Obama's presidential re-election campaign.
Okay.
She was a Democratic Party of New Mexico Native American Caucus. She ran for lieutenant governor of New Mexico 2014. So Democrat. That's all you need to know.
Probably helped with Standing Rock too. Sounds like it. Don't know that. But anyway.
Don't know that.
This article continues. In addition to rejecting 2 of the proposed drilling sites, so they were going to be okay. The administration also announced that ConocoPhillips would return about 68,000 acres of the existing leases to the government. The Times reported officials said that they believe that would prevent the company from trying to expand oil drilling in the region beyond the Willow Project. Hadn't stopped them before. Although the DOI's environmental analysis raised substantial concerns about emissions, danger to freshwater sources, and threats to migratory birds, caribou, whales, and the other animals that inhabit the region, the administration concluded that it doesn't have the legal authority to deny permits to ConocoPhillips, which has long held leases on the land in the petroleum reserve, the newspaper reported, citing two unnamed sources. The Revolving Door Project's climate research director, Dorothy Slater, condemned the White House for prematurely making the decision they thought courts might insist on, calling it a weak-hearted capitulation to corporate interest and historic abnegation of responsibility. The Interior Department does, in fact, have the legal authority to deny permits for a project that they have substantial concerns about, said Slater. If the case did go to court, the administration could leverage the significant resources of the Justice Department to defend their decision stridently, using every tool in their arsenal to protect the Arctic wilderness and give us a fighting chance to avoid the worst of climate change. Simply, what is executive power for, if not protecting the future of this planet, she asked. Munsell stressed that even one new oil well in the Arctic is one too many. If Biden wants to protect the Arctic, he needs to protect all of it, she added. The president has left us in the cold and missed a major opportunity to live up to his climate commitments. This project is on weak legal ground, and we're gearing up for action. Earth Justice President Abigail Dillon echoed that sentiment, telling the Times that the Biden administration's tinkering at the margins won't remedy legal failures to adjust this project outside harms, and we expect to see them in court. So yeah, how about that? Huh?
I mean, as we said, we voted for this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so this isn't, I mean, for you and I, and probably for our fam in the chat, this is not a surprise to you all, but, you know, but where in Biden's record has he proven, or Democrats in our lifetime have proven that they've actually cared for climate change besides, you know, just maybe like incremental change here and there, but nothing really substantive to kind of show that they're actually serious about, as you said, you know, as you said in the article, point of no return. So you would think that they would actually be a lot more aggressive in terms of ensuring that, you know, not even for Biden, because Biden will be long dead, but like for the rest of us, you know, that we have, you know, a future to uphold to.
Right.
So,
I
don't know, but yeah, that's the Democrats for you. And it's surprising that even some of the more progressive ones, they're like, oh yeah, we're disappointed, but you're still going to support them now. So, means nothing to me.
Yep. Couldn't agree more. All right.
Perfect.